If you're living somewhere in the world and you're thinking about coming to America, first off, I'd say this probably isn't a good time, but hey, don't let me stop you. I will say, as a word of advice, if you're thinking about coming to America, don't just show up and think you'll figure it out. That's the mistake everybody makes, is they think, oh, I'm just going to go there and I'm going to work hard and people are going to respect my work ethic and they're going to like me because I'm a nice guy and follow all the rules. That's not how it works. You got to show up with a plan for success. America is a very competitive place. It's very cutthroat. We don't have a very good social safety net, but there are still ways that you can, succeed in the American system if you come in with a plan. So here are 5 quick tips for anybody who's thinking about immigrating to America. These are 5 ways you can become a successful American. Number 1, be really good at sports. The one thing Americans respect above all else is athleticism. And they love the idea of a foreigner who's like really big and athletic. So pick a sport that Americans like to watch. And it would probably be, we really only have 3 sports: baseball, basketball, football. Anything else is going to be too niche. You're not really going to get any respect. And honestly, basketball is in kind of bad shape right now, socially. But I would recommend baseball if you were going to pick one of the 3. Because baseball you can kind of figure out in a foreign country. And luckily, there are some foreign countries that already have a very good reputation for baseball. So if you come from one of the baseball countries, you're already in pretty good shape. It's not enough, though, to just be good at baseball. You got to think in terms of narrative. Sports are all about fantasy and storytelling. So what is the story you're going to tell? Americans love the idea of a guy who's learning how to play sports, but in like a poor setting. So like you're learning how to throw a baseball by throwing a rock at a tree. Or, instead of, learning how to swing a bat, you picked up a dog and you used to just swing that around. That's how you got big and strong. And, you ran from a cheetah or something in the forest. And that's how you became fast. And once you kind of develop that kind of like, success story, something that you overcame, then when you get to America, all you got to do is just, explain to them why you became big and strong. They'll become inspired because in their mind, they'll be like, oh, that could have been me. If I was born in the Dominican Republic, I would have been a guy who was climbing trees and, throwing fastballs. So that's number 1. Number 2, this is kind of related to the first one, is if you can have some sort of exercise that people do in your country to stay in shape, Americans are going to love that. Especially if it's something sort of esoteric, like, yoga, something that involves some sort of spiritual practice, where you have to learn a bunch of lingo and like, words that can't be translated into English. Anything you can do that helps people lose weight in America. That is issue number 1 for most people. And they will overlook most of your visa issues if you can help them achieve that. Now, you would think, people in America have enough ways to exercise. We have gyms everywhere. You can do some push-ups, you can lift weights, run on a treadmill. That's not enough. The problem with people who are trying to lose weight is they really think that there's some sort of system that they don't know. And your job is to convince them that you have the system. See, back in your country, we did this dance. Every morning, everybody would wake up and they would do this specific dance. And that's why, our BMI is kind of low. And, these people have tried all of these different exercises already, and they haven't really worked because they don't actually have the discipline to, eat healthy and stay on top of things. So much like the sports thing, you got to sell them the fantasy. It's like, oh, if you let me into the country, I'll show you the secret swimming technique nobody knows about. But if you do this every morning and you say this prayer in my foreign language, you'll get big muscles like me. People will welcome you with open arms. It sounds like a reach, but I really recommend you start learning some exercises. You might just have to make some stuff up. That's fine. Just do it convincingly. People like being sold to. Number 3, you got to learn how to act really impressed at like basic stuff. People in America love a foreigner who's like really happy to be there. Nobody wants a guy who's like coming here and complaining. Americans complain enough as it is. They want somebody who's going to come here and be like, wow. It's like a little kid who's walking into Disneyland. He's like, whoa, what is this? What's going on? And I mean, the more basic the thing is, the more impressed you got to be, because that's what's really going to like sell the story. So, you see a banana and you got to be like, well, what is this? We don't have these in my country. And you got to act like you don't know how it works. It's like, here, can you show me how to eat this? And then they'll pick up the banana and they'll just start peeling it off. And you got to be like, whoa, how'd you learn how to do that? In my country, this would be a delicacy. And I mean, Americans love stuff like that, where you can be like, oh, what is this French fry? And I dip it in the ketchup. And then if you do that, and you have to act like, wow, I've never had anything like this before. Even though you probably have had French fries before in your country. But you still got to sell that dream. You got to be like, oh, you guys have no idea how good you have it here. In my country, we have no ketchup. You got to learn how to talk in that voice. It's like, oh, in my country, we don't have baseball. And you got to like give yourself a nickname. Oh, I call myself Derek Jeter. I am Pedro Martinez. And you got to talk like that, and people are just going to be like, in America, they're going to look at you and they're going to say like, man, we got to let this guy in. Look how happy he is to be here. I gave him a banana and he started crying. All right, number 4, you got to talk about your country, but you got to talk about it like it's in the past. When you get to America, you got to talk to Americans and you got to say stuff like, oh, back in my country, the women do the cooking. And the men, you go out and you make money. And you say like, is that what they do in America? And then they're going to look at you and they're going to say something like, yeah, it used to be what we did, but we don't do that anymore. And then you got to say, oh, but why not? Wasn't that system better? And then, they're going to say, yeah, it used to be better, but we can't. I mean, yeah, I wish I could do that, but we can't do that anymore. The reason you got to do this is that people love the idea that the past was better than the present. In the same way that they like the idea that America must be somehow in the future. And that they're looking at your country like, man, it's way back there somewhere. Number 5, you got to serve some sort of a chicken dish. People love eating chicken, especially if it's like cooked in some sort of special sauce and it's got a lot of oil in it. You just got to come to this country with a new kind of chicken. Doesn't even have to be that clever, but just come up with something that's kind of creamy or that's salty, very salty. People love salt and they love eating chicken. So I would highly recommend, if you're coming to America, that should be on the list.